Hey guys and girls, welcome to another edition of Antlers, watching giant antlers grow. And do you know what? There are no giant antlers growing. There are no antlers of any kind growing right now. We've watched this bunch of deer, what we call the brotherhood or the house bucks or whatever we want to call them, 6 or 7 or 8 bucks that run around, stay at the house here. These bucks are not tame. They're wild bucks, but I've tamed them down pretty good. Some of y'all have started calling me the deer whisperer, and I kind of like that. I don't know if you're spelling deer D-E-E-R or D-E-A-R, but I kind of like to be called the deer whisperer, so y'all go ahead and do that. Particularly all you pretty girls out there, you can do that. But anyway, we do not have any deer hardly on the ranch at all that's got antlers. We see one every now and then, but just about everything we've seen, slick heads. Some of those slick heads are big giant bucks. So what we thought we'd do this week is take a look at what sheds I have. And we'll look at some of them tonight, we'll look at some of them tomorrow night, but let's just kind of take a look at what I've got on the back of my pickup. Take a look at this right here. These are all sheds from this year's deer. Now I got a lot more sheds than this, but this is all sheds from this year's deer. And we'll start with the littlest and work our way up. Isn't that the way you like to do it? It's kind of like fishing. You catch a limit of fish and then you want to catch bigger fish and bigger fish. So we'll take a look at the little guys over here. And this little guy right here is just as cute as a bug's ear. Just as cute as a bug's ear. And these horns were found January 9th, and then I found the other one January 14th. And I haven't really done a lot of shed hunting all around the ranch. These are just pretty much, well, they are. They're the bucks here at the house pretty much. And this one I wrote on here January 9, 2023, January 14th. Obviously, these two little guys go together. You can see, actually, they're around like that. It's kind of hard sometimes to get them all turned the right direction, but they're actually like that. Now, you can see this is an 8-point. This is actually an 8-point deer. This is the deer's first antlers. And you think, well, golly, that's a little puny runt. This is one that needs to be culled from the hull. No, no, no. I don't know what this guy will be like next year, but let me tell you, you remember Snoopy? You remember Snoopy? And we end up calling, what do we end up calling Snoopy? Something else when he got back in. But he went from little bitty horns, less than this, like a 4 or 5 points total. And this deer's got 8 points total, to a magnificent set of horns his second year. Now, will this deer have a magnificent set of horns his second year? I don't know. We don't really have any idea. But I promise you, this is not a bad start. His very first horns. The fact is, the good thing about it, actually, if you take and look at this down here, this is coming out right here. This will be an extra point this year, second year. So this side right here, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, is actually 5. Over here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you see this is another one starting to start right here. See that little knob sticking out? This deer right here has got a good possibility of having at least 10 points next year and being 3 or 4 or 5 times larger than this. Will that happen? Well, we'll find out. We'll find out. All the deer's got to do is just stay alive, not get caught or eaten by anything. And by the way, my trapper's working on the coyotes and the bobcats. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. We have less than we had just a few days ago. So anyway, that's what we're looking at right there. That's the smallest one, January 9, January 14th, and went in and wrote on them when I found the shed. That doesn't mean that they lost them on those days. That's the day that I found them. All right, so we go back here and we take a look and see what we've got next. And I'm just gonna go by size. And now again, here's the deal on this. Here's the deal on this. This is the same size. This is going to go. That would go over on this side. Yeah. All right. I'll get the side that would go on that side. These deer right here are the same age. This is this deer's very first horns. Now you can see what this guy's got the capability of doing. This is probably one of Whitey's childs. This is probably one of Whitey's childs right here, and you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 on one side. This guy over here, about a 4, almost a 5. Now this is their first horns. Now this does not mean that this deer will be way larger than this deer next year, but he's got the capability and possibility of being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a 12-point and a really big 12-point or even larger. Now when we pick up the other antlers that goes with this deer, this is what he looks like right here. And again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So basically 12 points on his first set of antlers, his very first set of antlers. January 5, January 7. That's the 2 days that I found the horn. Holy cow, what is that? Oh my goodness, look at that. I could just about shoot that guy down with my PSE. Hey. I take all that back. You know, don't be sending the FBI or something down here to me thinking I'm just going to shoot down jet airplanes. Boy, he was low, wasn't he? Jet airplanes. Did you see that? Did you see that? Jet airplanes with my bow and arrow, because I'm not going to do it. I wouldn't shoot at an airplane. What are you thinking? Okay, anyway, here we go. That right here is going to be a really nice 12-point deer. January 5, January 7. January 5, January 7 when I found those. So these deer are losing their horns pretty early. You know what the old timers say? When the bucks lose their antlers early in the year, it means we're going to have a rainy spring. So far, we've had over 3 inches of rain here in the ranch, over 3 inches of rain. This time last year, through the entire month of January and February, only had 1.1. So far, this is panning out, old timers. All right, so that's another nice deal right there, and that deer is going to be a good one. Now again, and I know that we have deer die here around the house and in the pens, and people think it's terrible when they do, and it is terrible. But keep in mind that nearly all the bucks in the wild don't even make it past 1.5 years or 2.5 years old. So when you have deer that we have around here that, because of our conservation, because of what we do, because of all the food plots we plant about 100 acres of food plots with Ocmulgee River buckmaker seed, both in the spring and in the fall, about 100 acres. We have nothing on here but deer and elk, wild turkey, and whatever else critters is running around. We have no cows, we have no horses. So we do that just for the deer. So we can get deer, some of them to live 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, TC, 7 years old, maybe 8 years old. So we'll see what this guy does, but this has got the potential of being a really, really giant buck. All right, let's look over here and move up one more notch. I'm going to move up here another notch. I'm going to go up here to this deer right here. Now this was January 3, and now you can see this is this deer's second horns, and you can tell what a good deer he's going to be. Now I have not found, what do you think there, Benelli? Looky there, buddy. Yeah, buddy. You better find me some of these in your lifetime. Yeah. All right. But when you look at this deer right here, this is this deer's second horns, and you can see what a major difference from a first year to second year. Now this is not the same deer. This is not the same deer, but now you can see we're moving up again. This is the first year, this is the second year, that's the same size. Now this is not the same deer. These two deer right here are two different deer. These are this year's sheds, but this year's deer is a year older, and you can see what nice, beautiful antlers he has there in his second year. Still a long way to go to be a really big one, but this deer would have been a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on one side. The other side, I don't know if it was 6 or 7. We can look back at videos and probably tell what deer was right there, but I don't know which deer a lot of these were. We can look back and see if you're really interested and got some time to kill. You can look back and see some of our old videos on YouTube, and you'll be able to see and tell which deer are which. But this deer right here, again, potential just like this deer of being really, really big. This coming year will be his third set of antlers. Now these deer are the deer you're seeing running around here without any rack on their head right now. These are the same deer. All of these antlers I found within 5, 6, 7, 800 yards of the house. A lot of them within, I found some of them right out there around the feeder. So this will give you an idea. I've yet to find that deer's other antlers, but we haven't gone and looked too far away. One of the reasons is we're doing some trapping relatively close to the house right now. And so I don't want little Benelli to get caught in one of our traps. Oh, I'd just break my heart. But it wouldn't kill her. I mean, it might like, it hurt. I don't want to see the little girl hurt. But you can take a look right here. This is a difference from one year to the next on deer, both of them, that have the potential to have some giant racks. And I do not have that other horn. Hopefully we're going to be able to find that antler. And you probably say, Jimmy, you call them horns sometimes, you call them antlers sometimes. Antlers is what they are. Horns on an animal are horns that grow and they never leave. They stay there. So you have cows that grow horns. They don't shed those horns every year. Deer, elk, there are animals that they call antlers rather than horns. Moose that shed their horns every year. And some of these look how big a moose's horns get. Look how big an elk horns get. Look how big some of our deer horns get. And yet they grow and shed every single year. So antlers shed, horns do not. If you're from the South and you're a redneck, those are horns. They're bone. They're bone. That's what we have. Bone collectors, you hear guys talking about being a bone collector. This is the kind of bones that they're collecting right here. So you can see what we've got right there. And keep in mind that I don't know of any particular reason why God said that. It's kind of like, why does a turkey gobbler have a beard? And why is it that the bigger beards are the turkeys we want to kill? Well, they're the turkeys we're hunting because they're the more mature turkeys, and we want to kill one that's 2 years old, 3 years old, 5 years old. That beard gets bigger, and it doesn't shed. They have that beard, and one beard's all they got. So that's, and why does a gobbler have a beard? I don't know. There's got to be a reason for it, but I don't know what the reason. Why do these shed every single year and then grow back larger? I don't know. It's just the way that God created them. Just like he created you and I different, and everybody else in the world, we're all unique, we're all individuals. God created all the animals to be different too. And even animals in the same species, you can see the antlers are different, the size is different, the weight is different, everything. All right, so that'll kind of give you an idea. That's a little bit of a start right there. I tell you what we're going to do. Next week, we're going to take some looks around and see what we've got. We're going to look a little bit bigger. I'll tell you what I will do. Let me just grab Prince Charming here for a second. Well, I'll tell you what, let me just go back to these right here real quick. Yeah, these antlers here, that antler went with that antler. Now, this is one we haven't found, but this is one we can talk about. We can talk about quite a bit because you hear about them talking about scoring a deer, and you hear me sometimes say that deer would be a 200 plus score. That deer probably be a 150 score. In the South, deer that are around 120 score and on up generally are pretty good sized bucks. You kill a 120, 125 score buck, that's actually a pretty good sized buck. Now, they say, well, Jimmy, I hear people saying, oh, I killed a 180, a 190, a 200. What in the world do they mean when they're talking about that situation? You're actually talking about inches of bone, inches of horn on a scoring system. And I'm going to tell you exactly how that's done. It's really a pretty simple deal. This beam right here on a white-tailed deer, you'll notice this beam, you start down here where the beam comes out of their head, goes all the way around and comes out to here. That's called the main beam. So what you would do to get that measurement, and you can have a Pope and Young, which is, you kill that animal with an archery, that's a Pope and Young, or Boone and Crockett. That deer is taken with a rifle or a muzzleloader, some sort of a pistol, some sort of a modern weapon, not a bow. Pope and Young is bow, Boone and Young is some kind of a gun. And so here we go. So if we're going to score this deer, here's one of the things you measure is the main beam. Put your tape here, you keep the tape all along the center of it, go right down the center, all the way out the tip, however many inches that is, you write those inches down. And you can actually download from both Pope and Young and Boone and Crockett right off the internet, you can download a score sheet. So if you want to score some of the deer that you may have killed over the years and you got hanging on the wall and you never scored them, you want to score them, just see what they score for the fun of it, you can take those deer down, get you something you can measure with, a tape that is flexible. You don't want something like a ruler, but a tape that's flexible, where you can put it down here and go all the way around to there, and you write that down as the main beam. And then these other horns are G1s, G2s, G3, G4, G5, G6 going around. And then you're going to measure them. So you come over here. Now this is what we call a brow tine. This is an extra. You're going to measure these things extras out there. But you're going to measure that brow tine. And you measure from the center of the horn right here. You measure out. So however many inches that is, that's like about 2.5 or 3 inches, something like that. Probably 3 inches is about what that is. And you write that down. You come up here and you measure that one and you write that down. Up here, you measure that long one and you write that down, so forth, all the way out. You measure every single one of those and you measure both the left side and the right side. And then you're going to come in and you're going to measure the circumference. And you measure the circumference, if I remember correctly, I haven't scored a deer in a couple, 2 or 3 years. You measure the circumference in 3 places. You'll measure over here around the base. And this is around. You take your flexible tape measure and you go around, and however many inches that is. You come up here in another spot. I think there's 3 different spots that you measure. And you measure the circumference. Like if you take a larger sized deer, we'll just take a look at Whitey right here. Whoa, that's what I call some antlers right there. You take Whitey right here, and you notice when I put my hand around here how much bigger that is right there? You measure here, you're going to measure here, You tell that's a lot bigger, and then you measure up here. I could just barely get around and touch that. And you do those measures. You do the same thing, you're measuring each side. Measure one side, then you measure the other side. And then, after you measured one side, you measure the other side, you're gonna measure width. Now, people think about deer that are real wide, and we kill deer that are like 25, 26, 27, 28 inches wide. And we think, well, those big wide deer, they're beautiful deer. They're gorgeous deer hanging on your wall. And they're gorgeous deer in seeing them out and standing in a field or something. You just go, oh man, look at the width on that deer. It doesn't really matter too much about the width as far as your score, because that's one single measurement, whereas you're measuring all these little individual measurements. And by the way, I mentioned that little sticker that was coming off. You measure all of those too. Those are individual things that's added onto that. And so you measure those. But the width, you're simply measuring at the widest point. So you go from the widest point, like this sitting on top of a deer's head, would be just about like that. So that's about 12, 13 inches is what it is. It's out here 16, 17, 18, 20 inches. You can see that it becomes a lot more massive looking deer, but you're really not counting much more score. Because, you know, the difference between one that's 14 inches wide at the widest part and 18 inches wide at the widest part is going to look like a lot bigger rack hanging on a wall, but it's only 4 inches more bone, 4 inches more score. And that's not bone, you're just measuring air. You're measuring the widest point, that's all you're doing. But you get one that's out there 28 inches, and the old-time Texas giant bucks score 170, 180, 185, 190, 195, 26, 27, 28 inches wide, 10, 11, 12, 14 points. These were what people from all over the country would go to Texas for. Now with the genetics, the high genetics, we kill 240s, 250s, 300, 400 score. They're the ones that's got things going all around. Kind of like when you look at Whitey. You look at Whitey, nice. I'll take a little bit to score that deer. Nice, not only wide, pretty wide up there. You go from the widest point here to there. The widest point, don't measure up the top. You measure the widest point, that's your width. When you start adding all that stuff up together, that deer's gonna score a lot. It's got a lot of circumference. When you measure around there, every tine is long. And you look how long his mane is. And you start here, measure here, go all the way around down to there. That's pretty wide. That's pretty wide. Guys and girls, it's gonna wrap this first edition back. We're gonna be back here tomorrow night. We're gonna look at the big boys and talk about them a little more. Remember, I sure do.